Kyle Clark has been in a devastated area. He is near the Davidson Mesa trailhead by Harper Lake. And Kyle, just over the past few hours, you've seen a neighborhood apparently wiped out.
Yeah, Tom, this is the neighborhood that we left about an hour and a half ago when it became unsafe to stay. And we're now back near Harper Lake in Louisville. We're now on the north side of the lake, and we can show you the homes that were burning earlier today and that firefighters were trying to save. And it's clear that the fire has moved clear into this neighborhood, but it did not burn every home, at least not the ones closest to the lake. So we're east of McCaslin. You're looking at the homes along Washington, but we know that homes farther back into that neighborhood have burned. We're not seeing any active attempts at fire suppression in this neighborhood right now. Heard Kathy talking about the winds. It's pretty striking. Right here, down at this relatively low level, bit removed from the foothills, almost no wind. It's completely calm. 15 minutes ago, my photojournalist Chris Hansen and I were along some high ground in open space north of South Boulder Road, no more than 3 miles west of here. And the winds were ripping to the point that you couldn't stand. So we're probably talking about gusts easily in excess of 60, maybe 70 miles per hour. Again, that was high ground, 3 miles west of here. Down in Louisville, it's eerily still. It is as still as it has been throughout the day. And if you look at the smoke patterns over the homes that are burning south of Harper Lake, you see big, tall plumes as opposed to them being pushed sideways. So there's a considerable break in the wind, but there's obvious heartbreak for all the folks who live there in that neighborhood, who have lost homes and memories, and our hope is that what Sheriff Pelle said earlier today holds, that there were not casualties, that there were not fatalities. But this is that neighborhood that we watched with such concern all afternoon. Looking south from here, this is that line down through Coal Creek Golf Course, where Angeline McCall was, down towards Avista Hospital, where Nelson Garcia was. So this is the northern edge of the fire, where you can tell that it's continuing to move through homes.
I think the word that comes to mind to me is mercy. We'd like some. We've been at the mercy of the winds for the better part of all day. And it's time for some mercy. It's time to let up and let us try to stop this, end the fight, and begin to start the next phase, because this has been hard to watch. It's been hard to report on, because I think of you and Angeline and Noel and everyone who's been everywhere today, being so close to these people's lives because you're so close to their houses at their end, and it becomes a difficult line to walk, reporting it and still feeling it, understanding it, and presuming that it could just as easily have been your home.
Well, and I think, Tom, one thing that becomes apparent when you watch these fires move is almost in the way that a tornado is. We don't get a ton of destructive tornadoes in Colorado, but how one house is gone and the next stands pristine. Mm-hmm. And even in this neighborhood, which has been on the cusp of the fire for hours now, we see homes destroyed. Through the viewfinder of Chris Hansen, you see another home that is just starting to burn. I mean, it is standing and the flames are just, it appears, at the front doorstep. And that home's gonna burn because there's no firefighters in sight. They're elsewhere because there's too many places to be. You go 3 houses down and the houses still stand and they're right there. And it's just, it's tough to make sense of. And it's also tough to give people great information. You know, folks will reach out to us when we're on the air and say, you know, what about this neighborhood? What about this street? It sounds like in Superior, it's a different story, mm-hmm. where hundreds of homes were lost. Here on the northern edge of the fire in Louisville, it truly is home by home. Some are there, some are not. You hear the booms and the cracks in the background just to the right of the home that's most clearly engulfed as another home goes up significantly. And when you look to the south, you think about hundreds and hundreds of homes between here and Avista Hospital where Nelson is.
Well, just watch Chris.
Randomness of it.
Chris just panned for 30 seconds.
And gave us homes that were
Fire.
fine, and then fire.
Yeah.
And then the randomness of it, and then the fact that you're right there on the water by Harper Lake. It's the irony of that. I mean, we just water, anything, snow, moisture, and maybe this would be a different story.
Yeah. Can we show you one more thing here? I know
Please.
you've got a lot of places
No, go ahead.
touch base with, but Chris, maybe if we could look back over to the edge of Harper Lake that's the closest to McCaslin. So when we were talking to you, I believe right around 5 o'clock, and it got nasty enough that we decided to move because you could see the fire beginning to move both east and north around the lake, and you didn't want to get flanked on McCaslin. The fire that you see there, those were the first 2 homes that we watched all afternoon, and firefighters put up such a hell of a fight to try and save that second one. But it doesn't look like more than, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 homes were lost there at the edge of Harper Lake. There were at least some saves there, or homes that didn't burn. And then you've got this whole stretch, and then clearly there are other homes that are being lost further into the neighborhood. It's just, I mean, truly at the mercy of the winds this afternoon and whether firefighters could, not only be in the right place, but be there at a time when their efforts could do something. We watched the water streams from their hoses turned back in their faces by 70-mile-per-hour winds. And, there was no lack of courage there because they were right in the thick of it, but they were trying to shoot water into 70-mile-per-hour winds. It was just, I mean, it truly is unlike any wildfire that I have seen up close in Colorado, be that the High Park fire in the Glacier View subdivision up there, or be that Waldo Canyon when it burned down into mountain shadows. That's probably the closest parallel. And this fire is very different in terms of its intensity and path than even the Black Forest fire. Chris Hansen and I were out there during the Black Forest fire as that thing went treetop to treetop and then would pick off homes here, there, and everywhere. This fire is going home to home in suburban communities.
You mentioned do something. Everyone wants to do something. Firefighters want to fight the fire. They just need a way to do so. A lot of people today via social media have been talking about, when and how are we going to find a way to do something to help all of these people. This is a vast amount of people that are going to be damaged by this and will be for a while. I know you always are so invested with Word of Thanks and some of the great things you do on Next. We're going to have to start to put together that, whether it's the governor, whether it's the federal government, whoever is going to step up here. But individuals in Colorado will want to know how they can help. And we're going to have to come up with something along those lines to make it so people can do so, because that's who we are.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. As you said, the generosity in our community is there. People have been called upon time and time again. I think back to last fall's devastating fires in Grand County, Larimer County, and don't forget Boulder County. They had a very difficult fire last fall as well, and our viewers responded generously with hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of donations that community foundations, the Grand Foundation and Boulder County Foundation, United Way, Larimer County split up between the counties. So rest assured, I mean, at this point, prayers for folks, and, if you know somebody directly impacted that you can directly help, that's what you can do tonight. In the coming days, there are wonderful organizations in this community that, trust me, we have vetted, and you can have total confidence in that they are connected, that they will be here for the long term to help people, and I know that they stand ready to put something together, and we'll be there alongside them. That's something for the coming days.